So, good morning from Switzerland. Or at least the Swiss-Italian border. And it is fresh this morning. It's 7:30, which is the sort of time that I was always expecting to be leaving each day, but this is the first day that I've actually managed to achieve it. What can I say? By the time I've done a long day's ride, by the time I've gotten into my hotel, had a shower, done my video update, edited it, tried to get it uploaded, responded to all the tweets, the Facebook stuff, the Instagram, then I've had dinner, it's kind of ended up being like 10:30, 11 o'clock. At which point, getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning to be away by 7, half 7 is not an appealing option, because I'm normally bloody knackered. But this is the first time we've managed it. It won't be the last time, because here now begins the last leg of the epic ride home. Now it's all about concentrating on getting back to the UK, and we have a plan. Huge thanks to these 3 fine German gentlemen in front of me, who have very kindly allowed me to gate crash their little alpine tour. It has been most appreciated. So you 3 gentlemen, if you're watching this back, thank you very much. I really have appreciated your company and your humour. But the plan today, because we're in Switzerland, in fact no, let's rewind that back a little bit more. Yesterday I sorted out, day before in Verona, I sorted out my Vodafone SIM card, and we found out what the problem was. That SIM card that had been sold to me was designed to go into a dongle or a MiFi or something along those lines. Either way, it's not designed to go into a phone, which is where I'm using it. So we had to change the access point for the mobile data to make it like a mobile internet SIM card. And then it all started working until we got across the border into Switzerland. Switzerland is not actually part of the EU, so data roaming does not apply here. All of the EU benefits, data roaming here, there and bloody everywhere, they don't apply. So I can't trust my phone as a reliable navigation tool. But what I don't have is I don't have the more detailed roads, and I can't do actual route planning and guidance, because that needs your internet connection. So I could navigate, and this all sounds a bit of wishy-washy excuses, but basically I don't want to navigate on my own through Switzerland if I can avoid it. So the other half of that is the strictness of the police to the speed. We're fairly lenient in the UK if you get caught. Generally speaking, you're looking at a fixed penalty notice, £60 fine. Well, no, it's gone up to 100 now, hasn't it? Bloody hell, shows how out of touch I am. But you've got a little bit of leeway. Police officers have a little bit of discretion so long as you're not taking the piss, and even the speed cameras are set to give you a little bit of leeway. But over here apparently there is nothing of the sort. 2 to 3 kilometers over, you are looking at a €60 fine. If you are significantly over that, you're looking at a €500 fine, or you're looking at a 1-year custodial sentence. End of. Now, I have a requirement to get my arse back to France to get back to the UK. So with that in mind, it's in my interest to be able to make progress where I can, and making progress in a country where they are that strict and stringent on speed limits is probably not going to be good for my own well-being. So we're going to follow for a while. Phil's heading back to Munich today because he's got work tomorrow and he's got a poorly red Renner to look after, or to keep tabs on. So we're going to have another day in the passes, but we're going to head in a generally northerly direction, and then at some point Phil and I are going to split from our other two gentlemen, and I'm going to follow Phil into Germany to then jump on an autobahn and skirt around Germany towards France, which also has the added benefit of minimising my time in France. It's going to be bloody tough going, but it should be achievable. For me to get to Caen and get a ferry, which is something else I need to look at as soon as my 4G is available, because Phil was telling me apparently the ferry prices are horrific if you don't book them months in advance. So I need to double check that, and then I need to look at spanking my way across Northern Europe. Oh, you little bitch, stop slipping. No, 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 you're not allowed to slip. Not today, not after I sat there and fixed you yesterday. Pow! There's that sun, and it's bright. But it's lovely and cool, actually. Really, really nice and cool. Temperature wise, what is temperature today? 21 at the moment. Wow. That's awesome. It's properly damp underfoot. This is a new for me. Actual wet weather. Damp weather, anyway. Come on, uphill, don't slip, don't slip, don't slip, don't slip. You little beauty. Right, now, with a little bit of moisture in the air, I am bloody glad I've got the jacket. Hopefully today marks the end of the stupidly hot weather, and marks the start of some actually reasonable weather, preferably without pissing it down with rain. That's not on. Do you know what? This is the first time this bike's ridden in the wet weather. In vaguely wet weather. Be interesting what these tyres are like then. It is actually bloody raining. Bloody hell. Oh, this is tickling me. After all the days of me complaining about the extreme heat that I'm having to deal with, and yet the one type of weather I'm really not geared up for coping with is the bloody rain. Jesus Christ. Excellent. Opportunity to stop, and I can now put some wet weather gear on. Bollocks. All that water's on the fucking inside now. Rookie error. Where I've had my lid off to sort out my clothing, I've left the visor up, and now the inside of my visor is caked in water. Loads and loads and loads of large droplets of water, and I can't clear it without stopping and taking my lid off. You bloody fool. Wowzers. Well, this was always a threat. The idea was that I would come back in the summer to minimise this threat of having to deal with the rain, but I am equipped with a Dainese, I can't remember what the exact product name for it is, but basically it's a windproof and waterproof inner layer for this jacket that can be put on at very, very short notice, or can be fixed into the jacket, and it's going to give me a much better chance of staying relatively comfortable. Obviously that doesn't take into account my Kevlar jeans, which are going to get soaking wet and are going to cause my legs to be wet, but I think I'd rather be cold and wet in my legs than cold and wet in my entire body, certainly my core. But now we crack on, see how we get on. As I said, I've got no idea how this bike's going to behave in the wet. I'm obviously not going to take the piss, but it could be quite interesting. I can feel my legs wet already. Oh, bollocks. Actually open that vent and see if we can try and clear this water off the inside of the visor. Failing that, when we get to our breakfast stop, it will be out comes the visor cleaner. Sort it out that way. I took the pin lock out of this visor in Egypt when I had to change over. In fact, it was really early on. It may even have been earlier than that. I put the pin lock into the clear visor just to transfer it, and found that it was really badly scratched up. So I'm going to need a new pin lock, but there's quite a lot of moisture in here from me sweating like mad over the last couple of weeks. Not been able to sort that out. Beautiful. Yeah, that's going to be pretty fresh for you, mate. And down to 16 degrees. Oh, it is chilly. Wow, that is quite pretty, that. In fact, no, that's not quite pretty, that's very pretty. Oh man, I'm tired. I need a coffee. So let's suppose that we get further into Switzerland, like we're going to do. We stop for breakfast and we work out a plan. I have a choice. Shorter, more direct route, visually impaired, slower speed. Longer route, long way round. Better navigational ability, slightly better speed, progress to be made. These are the decisions that need to be made on the fly on a trip like this. Do I go left? Do I go right? It was a lot easier when I was in Egypt, because from Nueva to Sharm el Sheikh and back up to Suez, there was one road. So long as you are on that one road, you cannot get lost. Saudi Arabia, there was one road from Jeddah all the way up to Jordan. Really wasn't all that difficult. Things were a little bit more awkward when I got into Italy. Obviously the Amalfi Coast is the Amalfi Coast, but trying to navigate over the mountain, there were a myriad of little offshoot roads that I could have taken, and I missed a few turns and ended up on the minor roads instead of the not quite so minor roads. Can't really call them major roads when they're mountain passes. and then trying to get from Naples to Rome, that was a bloody nightmare if you haven't got a GPS live update, turn left, turn right. For the record, I despise GPS navigation systems. I despise them. But I will acknowledge that in situations like this, if you can put pre-programmed routes into them, there's definitely a strong case for them. And I think having one would have made my life considerably easier. But I made my bed and I've done a right line in it so far. Albula Pass. In for gasoline. No, in for a quick stop.
Yeah, sadly this is where we part.
Okay.
We go straight and we go up that path.
Right, gotcha. Do you know what? I'm looking at this. This isn't even worth flipping arguing about. Yeah, I'm not cutting all the way across that. Let's get out of here. Let's get into Austria and into Germany and then cut across that way. Be done with it. Back to the original plan. Ooh, that is pretty. But this is where we're all going to part. You sound like you need a coffee. That makes two of us. Thank you very much. Thank you for letting me gate crash. No, thank you.
Journey.
Guten Tag, Dankeschön. Ah, 50 bloody miles an hour all the way through Switzerland. Thank you, gentlemen. With the threat of going to prison. So I've just had a look at the map. And yeah, my previous thinking about, oh, do I go visually impaired, slower, a much more direct route, and basically it's going to be a very, very small detour to get into Germany, but I still have a very, very long trip ahead of me. Large amount of mileage to do. So Phil and I are now going to head to Imst, which I think is in Austria, and we're going to do breakfast and a coffee because we both need a coffee. That will be my fuel stop, and presumably we can find out if I've got my 4G back by then, and we can decide where we're both going from there. But I'm slightly concerned about the what Phil was saying about the Cairn to Portsmouth ferry. Whilst it's bloody convenient, in his experience he found it to be chuffing expensive. Now Brittany Ferries are the only operator of that line, so there's a monopoly on it, which doesn't help. But the issue is, you can buy the ticket, and I've already looked at the ticket prices, and the ticket prices online at the moment are £99. Not a problem, but what they do say is that you have to book accommodation. Now that accommodation ranges from a reclining chair all the way up to the super duper luxury cabin berths. They will only accept bookings if you've booked a cabin, if you've booked accommodation as well, and they will only accept ticket-only bookings when all of the accommodation has sold out. So he has found that the only accommodation that's normally available, understandably, is the most bloody expensive one. So a £100 ticket suddenly looks at becoming £300 to £350. Now I want to get home, and I'd really like to get home on the Cairn or Le Havre to Portsmouth ferry, but I am not going to be held to ransom a 6-hour crossing, 300, 350, let's call it £300, let's go on the better side. £300 for a 6-hour crossing is £50 an hour. Yeah, you're alright. I'm you know, at that stage, I need to look into this a little bit closer now, for definite, because I've got my dates and I think it's realistic that I can do this in the 3 days, especially if I go to Calais and get the Calais-Dover tunnel. Alright, I've then got to do a stint in the UK, which I didn't really want to do. I just wanted to roll off the ferry at 6 o'clock in the morning and go home. But this might be significantly easier and more sensible, as I'm coming from that bloody direction anyway, that I might have to go to Calais. Apologies if the camera's all soaking wet and you can't actually see anything. This is actually hail, this is not rain.